All right. So I told you this is going to be nostalgic. And part of that nostalgia was actually my favorite part of the show when we first started. It was a segment that we had called Story Time. Story Time was a time that we used to do like case studies into interesting subjects in pop culture related to business. And we used to just break down like different interesting little tidbits and kind of break it down and explain, it in detail and, bring it back to how it's relevant to, business and stuff that you can learn from.
It was fun. Fun. I remember we came up with the idea and then trying to create a segment for it. I remember being like in my office at work, like trying to piece words together, like, yo, we got to use that Nas clip. Like, here's a real story that must be told. Like, so to have it back, do it again, man, it's always fun. Always fun.
So in true EYO fashion, if you listen on audio, this is strictly for audio because we actually started on audio before we were on YouTube. So audio, we about to run it. We about to run a Nas clip. And let's get into story time. All right. So for this one, we're going to talk about
legend.
One of the GOATs in the game, man.
Legend.
The question and the answer.
Ooh.
Shout out to Allen Iverson.
Bubba
Chuck. The question, the answer goes by so many different names. AI. And somebody who I actually had the honor of meeting.
21 has been a crazy year.
Yeah. Shout out to my brother Al Harrington, man. That was a huge. If you know me, I'm a huge sports fanatic. Played basketball my whole life, and Allen Iverson was one of my, greatest inspirations, one of my favorite players of all time. Somebody who I always, just held in such high regard since he was in Georgetown.
There's nothing like the Georgetown AI.
Yeah.
That Georgetown AI with the patent leather Jordans.
Shout out to
nothing like it.
Shout out to that whole team, man.
I think I got the starting five. Victor Page, a legend. Victor Page is legendary. Jerome Williams,
Junkyard Dog.
Othello Harrington,
that's legend.
I'm missing somebody.
Naktai Njai? Was it?
No, that's North Carolina. That
was a great team.
The North Carolina team?
That
team was great.
The Georgetown team. That was a hell of a team, man.
That was a great team.
But shout out to AI. So long story short, Allen Iverson, legend in the game.
Yes.
So, but we're gonna talk about some financial situations with him. So he has one of the dopest creative deals in history with Reebok. A lot of people he signed with Reebok, came out with the question. The question was the first shoe, the answer was the second shoe. Shout out to Steve Stout, put together that commercial for Jadakiss. That was a legendary commercial, probably one of the best commercials of all time.
Yep.
But he's still getting paid from Reebok to this day.
Yeah, I think he was I never had heard of that prior to him getting that lifetime deal.
Lifetime deal,
we grew up in sneaker culture, obviously. Jordan was huge. Penny had his kicks. Even Grant Hill had Fila rocking. But Reebok Shaq had Reeboks too. Let's not forget Shaq as far as the kicks. Shout out to my man Patrick Ewing. Let's not disrespect my Jamaicans. Shout out to New York. Everybody in New York, y'all know y'all had a pair of Ewings. But nobody had a lifetime deal. Like, I couldn't even understand it. What does that mean? Like, he is in 2001, like, I think he signs his deal and it's like he's good for the rest of his life. I'm like, well, he's not playing ball for the rest of his life. What?
Yeah. So, and when he first came in the league in 1996, he signed a $50 million deal with Reebok, 10-year deal.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, that was crazy. He put out the shoe that went crazy. And it's so ironic because I think his last game that he played was 2010. 2010.
Going on 12 years, bro. Without
yeah, 12 years after he over a decade. So he has in his contract, in his newer contract that he signed, payments of $800,000 a year. So a lot of times, obviously, people know that he fell on some hard times, had a divorce, I believe, but then he got remarried. But issues. People always have issues. So, but that's one of the things where it's like, all right, he had the foresight, and his advisors had the foresight to put that together and to have $800,000 a year. He's still getting paid $800,000 a year. So it's like, even if you blow everything, you still at the very least you're gonna have almost $1 million when you wake up.
Yeah. And they're still putting out the shoe. Like, they putting out limited editions of the shoe. I think this year's edition is going to be an ode to the '96 draft class. So everybody in the lottery, a color from their team is going to be on the new shoe.
Yeah, but another probably even better than that is He has a $32 million trust that he can't access until he turns 55.
Mm-hmm.
So I believe that's year 2030.
2030.
So when he turns 55, he has $32 million in a trust from Reebok. So, that was what we call in the insurance world, a DIA, deferred income annuity, where you put, a set amount of money away, and it grows over the period of time. It's kind of like a lockup period, and you can't actually have access to it until a certain period of time. And then when you do have access, now you can choose different ways how you can choose, but most people choose like another lifelong payout, where it's like they do a calculation based off of your age. And now, let's say that 32 million will equate to, $1.5 million for the rest of your life. Somebody else who had, a similar type of contract like that. The legendary Bobby Bonilla. We've covered that story.
Bobby Bode.
Yeah, for sure. Bobby Bonilla, another one that had that insight. So it's like, that is tremendous insight, like I said, on his advisors, whoever set that up for him. Definitely, great insight. Whereas, okay, you might have had some financial troubles. You might have, might have not made the best decisions financially, but you still have a salary every year, pretty much, of $800,000. But even bigger than that, you got 32 million that's waiting for you when you turn 55, like at the age when you probably need it the most.
Exactly.
And now that's a deferred annuity that's growing over the course of time, and that's just going to set you up for the rest of your life.
Yeah, I mean, the vision. I mean, the person, obviously the advisor at Reebok, obviously probably looked at his financial statements going up until that point and said, let's protect him. Let's put these barriers in place to protect him. So the annual salary, I know.
It probably wasn't even Reebok, though. It's probably outside advisors, yeah.
Yeah, because I'm thinking like $800,000 at that time when he's making a couple of million, probably almost nearly every 2 or 3 games. It didn't feel like a lot, but when you stop playing and life slows down for you a little bit, the endorsement deals that you used to get slow down a little bit, to have the 800 is like, all right, bet. I don't even have to play ball. I don't have to, I could just chill somewhere and collect 800.
Yeah.
That's incredible. So the 32 million, that grows over the time? How does that work?
Well, that's what it's projected to be.
It's projected to be 32?
So,
okay.
Yeah, so it might have put in, 15 million. Yeah. Whenever they started, it might have been 10 million. So it's invested over a period of time. And now at that period of time, that's what it will be at that period of time.
But it could be more.
Well, so it's based off of actuary.
Okay.
So yeah, it could be more depending, but for most of the time, like it'll be a set number based off of a calculation. So it'll be, let's say, and that's why it's done on an annuity schedule. So if it's a 10 million and let's say it's invested, and it's earning 6%, but the annuity calculation is 4%. So they're going to guarantee the 4%.
Okay.
So now it's like, all right, we're guaranteeing you that at this point in time, and that's why most of the time you take it off of an income. So it's kind of like how a pension works. For that, make it as easy to understand as possible, because most people can wrap their heads around a pension. So if you work a pension, it's like, all right, if you work this amount of years, you get a percentage of your salary. So that's how they can say, okay, in 10 years you're going to have $1 million in your pension.
Yeah, I think like in the teacher world, they take the average of your last 3 and they give you like 67% of that, something like that.
But the deferred annuity is something that anybody can really do, a deferred annuity, a DIA, and it's something that you can do if you, especially if you have a lump sum of money at a young age. So a lot of athletes or entertainers, right? So this is something that athletes can use as a strategy outside of a company. You can do it yourself. So if you sign, a $10 million, signing bonus, if you're in the NFL, like you can take $2 million and just put it in a DIA and just have it just sitting for 15, 20 years, growing over the course of time. And then when it's time to take it, now you might have, $15 million that you're just drawing a lifetime income off of. So that's a strategy that, you can use over the course of time as a safe way, and especially like if you don't really trust yourself and say, I ain't even worrying about this, I'm just going to lock it up, give it to the insurance company, it's going to grow. By the time I turn 50, now I'm going to start taking money, and now that's something that you just set yourself up for life, and you don't even have to worry about it. And not just athletes, but I just use athletes because they get lump sums of money.
Right.
They get a large amount of money when they're young. But anybody that comes in good fortune, if that's entrepreneurs. Yeah. If you get a windfall of money at early on, and you're not sure what to do with it, You might want to take a portion of that, put it in a DIA, let it grow over the course of time. Now you set yourself up for a lifetime income.
Yeah, I'm thinking two things as you're speaking, right? Like the last part of what you just said, like if we don't know what to do with it. Well, we know what happens when we don't know what to do with it. We spend it, all right? And I'm thinking the other part is like, yeah, AI did this deal in 2001. How many athletes has he come in contact with or have heard about this deal that haven't taken advantage of it? Right?
Yeah.
Like you hear AI's story, but you don't hear anybody else that's doing this. Right, this makes perfect sense, man. Like you're gonna be older a lot longer than you're gonna be younger, and especially some of these guys where an injury can change your financial trajectory that quick, or a life incident could change your lifetime trajectory of income. It's like, yeah, you should be planning. This is gonna change the game. I think you changed the game just now.
Probably. At the studio and change the game again. So shout out to AI. Bubba Chuck, we got to get him on the podcast. He got a new strand with Viola.
Yes. Yeah.
So
listen. Which camera am I in? Whoa. AI, you got one there.
Shout out to AI.
I've heard.
And congratulations, much success, and yeah, look into the DIA. Something to look into for sure.
My graduates from my school being Forbes, bag drop.
Bag drop.
A mic drop, bag drop.
Bag drop.